People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Now, we've seen a couple of young players come into the academy. We've seen a young centre-half. We've seen Akinola, the midfielder, George Lewis. We've seen a centre-half. If I haven't said that, we've seen Salah. We've seen about 4 or 5 players come into this club at youth level. Whether they're going to link up with the 18s or the 23s is another level, you know. We're hoping that all... Listen, as a fan, I hope everybody can step up to the first team. Nothing would fill me more with any pride than seeing a full 11 of Hayland/Exhaust Academy graduates. I would love it. You don't know me, I love academy football. It's not realistic though, is it? So at best, I'm hoping some of you can step up. At the other, I'm hoping that, you know, considering a couple boys we signed have been released, I'm hoping you have a new chance at football. You can come, you can develop, you can work with first-class coaches, potentially train with the first team. Just little things that can set you in good stead to have a future elsewhere. Whether Arsenal can develop you to play in the Premier League or the Championship or League One and have the, you know, the top sort of leagues and be sold for profit and go on to have careers is decent. I don't mind that. We need to make money, you know. Maybe in the unlikely event one of them progressing to the first team. I'm very pessimistic on all of their chances, but at the end of the day, anything can happen. And to be fair, out of all of them, I'm the most not that I'm excited about anyone in particular. I'm really like Salah Udine because he's the youngest and I like his profile and the fact that he plays centrally and can link up and stuff like that, and he's very cultured and he's very much an Arsenal player. But the one I'm most excited to see is actually George Lewis, purely because he's a winger. Yes, he's stepping into the under-23s at 20, which in isolation you would say, if it was coming from one academy to another, you would say it doesn't scream like you're going to have a future here. It just screams like you're firmly just going to remain an option for Steve Bold to use at this level, which might be. He's probably seen it as, you know what, I've played in Norway, let me come train at Arsenal, do what I need to do and keep it moving. I like him because obviously I haven't seen much, but from the clips he does look good 1v1. He is a wide player and he does have senior experience, so that should help him in the 23s, you know. And you know, he's 20. I don't know how long he's got a deal left, but you can't imagine he signed too much of a lengthy term. So there's almost that healthy sort of urgency to want to have a future here. Again, it remains to be seen. We're quite crowded in the wing positions as well. You know, if he develops, we're all rooting on him. So I'm keen to see what happens, man. And they've you know, Jonathan, our centre-half, signed from Spurs. Anyone signed from Spurs, you know, no pressure, Jonathan. But the last centre-half signed from Spurs on a free transfer went on to win the league at their ground, as well as becoming an invincible and things like that. No pressure, no pressure. Obviously, I'm not suggesting he's going to be like that. But anyone who leaves Spurs and says, you know, I'm going to sign for Arsenal as my next club, I'm going to allow you. He's 20 and I want to see what he does. Because, again, our centre-half, like him on the wings, our centre-halves appear quite crowded. If you play good, you could give a headache to Mertesacker and Arteta in that how do we forge a career at this club for this guy. I didn't think he could, but let's do it. Elsewhere, like I said, it's just about developing. For him, you know, you've come to Arsenal. Can you play for a year? Get Arsenal on your CV. Develop, you know, even more as a centre-half. Learn from Steve Bold, which, you know, there isn't too many better examples to learn the art of defending from, and then keep it moving. Because you look at the pathway. You've got Mavropanos, you've got a bunch of centre-halves. You've got two, in the same summer he's arriving, 2 new centre-halves are arriving at first-team level, assuming Gabriel completes the move, which seems to be happening. Obviously, Saliba was signed last year and comes in this year. But in relation to George Lewis, you know, his article on Arsenal, you know, I read it. You know, like I said, he's 20. He was asked on what he's had to say after completing his move. He said, it's really an unbelievable feeling. It feels really good. It's really good right now. Obviously, joining Arsenal. My window's open. People forgive me for the background noise. In relation to his journey to becoming an Arsenal player, he said, I started playing football when I was about 4 or 5 at my local club, Skakoven IV. When I played there until about 12, then we moved, and me and my brother both changed teams. So then we joined the other team, Trosdalen, where I went to play for the first team. But before that, I was in another team called Tromso, who were in the top division at the time. Before I came back in 2017, then I really stayed at Tromsdalen for 2 years until last year, where I moved to Fram Leverik to get more opportunities playing. And it seems like he's moved about a lot, and it does seem like he's been exposed to first team football, which at immediate 23s level, that could help us. If we've got a player used to playing men's football, he's going to be faster, he's going to be stronger, he's going to be quicker at foot. That can help us obviously win games. So I'm looking at him kind of, not that I'm putting pressure, I want you to kind of be a main player at that level, because we've seen a whole bunch of players leave at 23s level. Tyrese John Jules isn't going to be playing 23s football next year. You know, Balogun, is he going to leave? You know, Eddie and Joe can't be called upon. We're seeing Sam Greenwood allegedly about to complete a move away from the club. numerous players like Nathan Tormey and Robbie Burton have left. The likes of Swansons, the Coyles, the Medleys, all of these man there have gone out on loan. So the squad is quite depleted in terms of key players and difference makers. And you're looking for players to step up, but you're also looking for players to make the difference. And again, he still needs to adjust to the team and the teammates. So I'm not placing too much, but I'm looking at him a lot. I'm looking at him to be under 23's Pepe, really and truly. I'm looking at him to be the difference maker because he's got experience. Again, I haven't got it to hand, but I don't know how many appearances off the top of my head. I did know at a point he's played in the senior game, but he's been exposed more than definitely some of the team. And you can imagine, with assuming other bodies don't come in more so than the ones there already, you can imagine there's going to be a lot of under 18s, the first year scholars, to get opportunities, and they're going to be quite young, naive and stuff, and need guidance. So I'm looking at him to be a difference maker. And like I said, man, his playing style is what I like as well, because he screams like a very good winger. And he said himself, my playing style is very direct. I like to dribble a lot. I like to express myself on the field, so they can expect a show from me, yeah? That's what I want to see, man. This screams to, again, I ain't seen him play, but this screams confident lad, and you need that, you know? I want him to come in and play with a healthy arrogance, take people on, be a showstopper, be a difference maker. You know, he's 20, he ain't got time to waste. He's got to be banging on the door from day dot, you know? He's got to be playing to the point where he annoys Arteta in a good way, in that anywhere Arteta goes, anytime he walks past a first team coach or parent, they say, oh, have you heard of George Lewis? You know George Lewis? You know, to the point where he has to be aware of who he is. And then you get your opportunities, whether that's to train with the first team or call up or whatever, people. Chances are to be had in the first team. You know, Matt Smith is an FA Cup winner because of, maybe it's because of Guendouzi and Ozil, maybe it's because Arteta liked him. He didn't play any moment, but he's on the bench for the first team. And it would have been a lovely moment to see him play, but it wasn't to happen. But it's encouraging to hear this from Lewis. He said, obviously, when asked about if his family support Arsenal, I don't think he's not going to say anything less. He said, yeah, all my family are Arsenal fans. When I was growing up, I really looked up to players like Adebayor. He was a really good role model for me, as well as Thierry Henry, and just to mention some of them. He was then pressed on, you know, gaining first team experience in the second and third tiers of Norwegian football. He said, the difference with playing with men and against men is that it's probably more physical, and you have to be strong in the mind, because obviously when you're young, you won't come through. You won't play every game. You'll probably be on the bench, but you have to be strong mentally to get past that and to get through that. And he was then asked on what he hopes to achieve at Arsenal. He said, what I hope to achieve is, of course, to play for the first team at Arsenal and get as many appearances and goals as possible. So it's lovely to hear that from him. And for me, you know, we've got a good player to use at 23. He's got experience. He's direct. This is what you need to have, especially when you're going to lose Balogun, who's, you know, scored a lot of goals. Tyrese, who's missing at this level again, scored a lot of goals. Troy Coyle, difference maker. You know, nobody Medley rocking defence as to why he probably brought one in. Nobody who wants to care about their development should be playing 23's football not next year, unless you're Miguel Aziz, and because he can develop next year playing 23's because he's just stepping up. If you're 19 turning 20, you shouldn't want to be here really playing in this, especially when you're the Coyles, the Medleys, the John Juleses, the Balakins, when you've been Greenwood not technically 23's, but will for Leeds soon, and you've been badding up these youth levels, you stagnate because you're not being pushed, you're not being physically dragged by centre halves, you're not being, you know, you're not immediately thinking after the game core. You get it? And it can, I'm not saying it happens to any of these players, but you can have a full sense of where you actually are as a footballer. Do you get? Where if I'm a centre half and I'm playing 23's football and I'm playing against the best, you know, likewise the best strikers or you know, best talked about players in the league, and I'm pocketing them because I'm faster, because I'm stronger, I'm going to think I'm the best thing since sliced bread subconsciously. But if I go and play first team football and I get, you know, physically handled all over the place, get skilled, get nutmegged, I'm caught flat-footed from a set piece, I miss my header, immediately I'm learning, I'm like, oh fuck me, I'm not at the level I thought I was. You get it? And this is what these players need to do. Same way with Eddie, what I liked when he went out on loan. They need to be doing things so that a year from now, when they come back to Arsenal or move on or whatever, they can say, yes, I'm a better player dramatically than I was a year ago. They need to make strides, and not for the club, for themselves, because this is where football gets real, in my opinion. So it is what it is. Jonathan, our centre half, said, you know, again, former Spurs defender. He became our third player technically to sign for the 23s. You know, he was asked on similar questions to George Lewis, and again, I'm looking at him to be a sort of senior man and step up. He said, it's a great feeling. Arsenal is a massive club, and they were actually the first club I supported as a child. Of course, you're going to say that. They have a great history, and with the new manager coming in who likes to play a lot of young players, I think it's a great opportunity for me to show the fans and the coaching staff what I'm really about. I'm really excited to get started now. He was then asked on his style of play. He said, I'm a ball playing centre half. I love to tackle and win headers. Keeping clean sheets for me is vital. If I don't, then it really hurts me. I just love doing my job, and that's what I want to hear. Arsenal, in fact, not just Arsenal, the modern game. If you can't play with your feet, not that I think you're a bad defender, it's that you're really going to struggle to cope at a top team, because that's the flavour of the month. And you look at our dynamics, we need ball playing centre halves. I want him to be that sort of thing. There's a lot of centre-halves on the book at first team level, and at 20 years of age, he's probably should be looking at this as, alright, cool, let me come in, I've got a club, I've just been released by Spurs, let me come in like Spurs, let me get Arsenal on the CV, let me really develop and learn from Steve Bold and do what I need to do, and then put myself in the shop window for the future, because if I don't get a future here, I need to ensure that I can get a club, because, I've got Arsenal and Spurs on the CV that will get you in the door, but you've got to be able to handle it, and I don't know how long his contract's on, but I would be trying to play senior football as quickly as possible. If I'm on a 2-year deal, I can't lie, I'm probably trying to leave Arsenal in the first year and go and play for senior football, because minutes are currency, and he's 20, he can't really afford to waste time. But you want to hear that he's a ball playing centre half. You want to hear someone loves to tackle. Obviously, for me, who was a right back and a left back in my Sunday league now, I love clean sheets. And to hear a fellow defender say that, that screams to me, that's almost unsaid at Arsenal. In that, even our defenders, we speak more about the gracious sort of arts of the game. I like someone who acknowledges, I have to do the techie thing, but fundamentally, I'm on this defending thing, keeping clean sheets. And I don't know nothing about his personality, but I hope he's got a big personality, because for me, what I'm reading, this screams leader to me. He was then asked on players he's excited to link up with at 23's level. He said Tyrese, John Jules and Folarin Balogun. I've played against them a few times and they're really good. I'm looking forward to playing with them this time. Yeah, they've probably run you ragged, and it's unfortunate, but you'd imagine Tyrese goes out on loan. Balogun probably potentially is going to leave the club permanently, so you probably won't link up with them at 23's level beyond the training you're doing right now. He was asked for his targets of this season. He said, right now, I just want to play as many games as possible with the 23's, and in the long run, hopefully be involved in some cup fixtures with the first team. And hopefully he can do that. If you play well, injuries, suspensions, just having to have other priorities, you never know. If you play well, you can imagine young players are going to get the opportunity to be involved in the matchday squad, in the Europa League, in the early stages of the FA Cup when it comes around next year, which we'll be defending, in the Carling Cup. Obviously, for the young players at 23's, it's not the same, but we've got the EFL Trophy where we'll be playing against Medley and Coyle's loan clubs in Gillingham. That only comes around sporadically, and that's another opportunity to play in the Cup and play against senior individuals. But he's right, man. You don't want to run before you can walk. Clearly, his goal is to come here. For me, develop as much as you can, learn as much as you can. So if Arsenal say, you need to leave, you've really left with something. And obviously, the goal is to try and force your way into the first team picture. Why else would you want to join? You don't want to just be here for the sake of it. He's an Arsenal fan, so again, turning down the chance to allegedly, play in some capacity by Arsenal might be too good to turn down. And like he said, who knows what could happen after that. It's just about proving myself with the 23's right now and taking any opportunity that's given to me. And that's what you want to hear. There's a lot of centre-halves on the books, but if your chance comes, make sure you take it. Things can change, really things can. If you've got a 2-year deal, you can imagine David Luiz, Socrates, Mustafi will not be here in a year from now. And again, I don't know that. That being said, gaps can open. Holding and Chambers might not be here. That's 5 men that might not be here in the next year, which, it might be naive. Some might, myself included, might think it's naive to think they all go. But if 5 men go and you're still here and you've been playing well, Arteta might say, alright, you know what? You might not be my first choice, but I'm going to bring you through. You can have a role here, sort of thing. So we'll have to see. He then spoke on Steve Bold and he said, knowing that Steve Bold is the head coach was a big factor for me. He's a legend at the club and he's played in my position. So I'm really hoping I can learn from him to develop my game. He also said, seeing the likes of Nelson, Saka, Nketiah and Willett getting chances was a big thing for me too. That was another reason why I wanted to come here, because I believe if you train hard, then you play well and the manager will give you the opportunity for you to show what you're about. I'm really glad I've been given this opportunity. And he speaks like a well-spoken man. He screams like a humble man, and we're all rooting for him. We all love an underdog story. We'd all love some of these players to go on and break through at Arsenal. For me, I'm hoping you lot can break through and Arteta gives you opportunities, because it's in my best interest, like every fan, to see players come through the academy. What a great story that would be. Arsenal took former Spurs man, he's gone on and become a Premier League player. Arsenal took my man who's only played in Norway and he's now a first team player for Arsenal. I would love that. If that can't happen, then I would like these lot to have careers, you know. What career would he have been if he didn't go to Arsenal? He probably had other clubs. Who knows? He might have had to give up the game. Same as my man and all these other men. So I would, second of all, hope they can have, you know, futures in the game. Third of all, and it's a bit sad, and I saved it till last because it's a bit sad of me, the dynamic, as much as I'm rooting for them, the dynamic of me shows me that you lot are just nothing more than stopgap signings at 23's level because the squad is depleted. You're nothing more than players that Bold has the opportunity to pick and select from. But that being said, can some of you go on and make profit just because you can't make it at Arsenal? Can you make it at a Championship club? Can you have a League One career? Can you have a future elsewhere? Can you make profit for Arsenal? Which, taking a wild card, it's a win-win, you know. We're paying them a salary, obviously, but we need players for 23's level, so they're serving that purpose. Elsewhere, can they make us a couple bucks? Which we have to kind of try and do this sort of thing. So I'm rooting for everybody, man. Hopefully everybody can make it, man. I just want everyone to be able to showcase what they could do, and you know, I'm happy for all of them because it is, especially for Jonathan, the centre half. When you get released by a club, it can be a tough time at 20. You know, he probably was waiting for his agent to see what could be said. I don't know if he had trials at other clubs. I'm pretty sure he did, but I'm happy, man. And I hope Lewis. I hope obviously Jonathan. I hope Salah. What's the other face? I'm missing one out. Akinola that we signed from Huddersfield. I hope they can all come in, make their mark, and you know, get opportunities in the short, medium and long term at Arsenal. But you know, as fickle as it is, we've got to let the football do the talking. So on that note, I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of it. As you lot know, it's always a pleasure speaking with you lot, but for now I've got to keep it moving, people. DG, God bless.